Okay, so welcome to your feeling for the microorganisms lab from a chip kit, which I'll be unboxing in a moment. I'm really looking forward to meeting everybody. You should all have received a box a bit like this one, with a lab from a chip sticker, all kind of sealed up. And what I wanted to do was just do a little bit of an unboxing of the kit and give you a quick guide to assembling the origami folding microscope that it contains. Introduce you a little bit to the other components, and then I'll be following up with a guide to assembling the microscope, the Foldscope, which you'll find in the box in a minute. And then this video will be followed with another one which deals with how to prepare some slides, silicon slides, so we can explore the microscopic world by making our own little impressions and silicon environments. But I'll come to that in the next video. And today I just wanted to welcome you all firstly, and just introduce you to the kit. So once you've received your kit, you just unseal it, and I'll just go through some of the things you get inside it. When you do receive your kit, there's a little sticker on the front that encourages you to open it immediately, and you'll see when you open it up there's a little test tube here with a sticker saying keep in the sunshine, and inside this little test tube, which has a little clip lid, which I'll show you, just peel it off the sticker, you've got our little algal suspension. So this is the algae, a culture of the algae Euglena gracilis, which we'll talk a bit more in the actual session. So if you hold it up to the light, you can sort of see it's a green tinted liquid, so you want to be really careful of this. And all the algae in here are alive, and they need to be kept in the sunlight really to survive. So if you can either keep it propped up in the lid on a windowsill or something, or if you want to keep it safely somewhere else. And then I would encourage you to just very gently pop open the lid and close again till it snaps shut. Make sure it's shut so it doesn't leak, and that just makes the gases exchange just above the liquid. And if you do that every 2 days or so, and keep it in sunlight, then your algal community will grow and thrive in that tiny bit of water. So for now I'm going to replace my little test tube on the lid there, and just go through some of the other components. We've got a manual which explains in a bit more detail the project, and particularly the moulding techniques, which we'll look at in the sessions and in the next video. So that's worth a read through. You'll notice there's a slight error on the website here. It's not github.com, it's actually github.io. It's a long story, but the internet service provider has changed the domain name. So if you do try to go to this address and it doesn't work, just replace .com with .io, but the rest of the address is the same. And the team at Lime will have sent you the correct website address anyway. Okay, so that's the little manual. Put to one side. And what we're going to assemble shortly is the Foldscope kit. This is a standard kit made by Prakash Labs, when we've added a few extras so we can experiment with slide preparation and silicon. So there's a nice pair of tweezers in there which you'll find useful not just for this project but all kinds of things. We've got a little package of an example glass slide. You can see a little caution sticker there, just be aware that it is glass and it is possible to break or cut yourself with it, so just take care when using that. There's a tiny little pipette in there, and then the rest of the kit that we'll look at shortly. So just quickly, for the rest of the kit, you should have 2 sachets of silicone, a B mix and an A mix. These are, if you keep them in these sachets separate, then they stay liquid, and they can stay liquid for over a year. It's quite resilient stuff, but when you use your syringes that are included to extract small amounts of each liquid and then mix them, once they're mixed, that's when they start to set. But there's more about that in the next video. I just wanted to explain what are in those pouches. If you just leave them sealed for now. There's 2 stickers for labelling your syringes. I've already labelled mine just for the purposes of our next video, A and B, and that just means you can't contaminate the 2 components, and it just means that it'll last much longer that way. Yeah, finally we've got a little mini petri dish here that's taped up. I've taped it up in a way that you can easily grab the ends of the tape, and you'll be able to unwrap that and access the tiny little timer chip that we're going to make impressions from, and this lovely artifact of early rock and roll here, the vinyl record, which again we'll go through that when we're making our impressions. So what I'll do now is I'll just put this box to one side, keep it in the sunlight, keep our algae happy inside, and I'll move that to one side, and we'll just concentrate on the Foldscope. So just move that there. Okay, so you'll get your Foldscope, a little bag, you can unzip it. Like I said before, there's a pair of tweezers that will be handy for our slide preparation later. There's also a tiny little Q-tip. This is for cleaning the lens, which I'll explain later. Let's put that to one side. There's a tiny bubble wrapped bag, and this is the lens coupler assembly. So this is where your actual ball lens lives, and they're kind of, I'll go through those in a minute. There's also a tiny little hand pipette for taking out tiny drops of our algal solution and dropping that on the slide so that we can view the algae under the microscope later. You also get quite a nice piece of artwork by the Foldscope people of the different organisms that you might be able to see with the Foldscope. The Euglena are not actually on here, I don't think so. No, but there's many other organisms that you'll be able to see with the kind of the way that the lens works. These are the sort of organisms you'll be able to see, from nematode worms, another famous model organism, to tardigrades, which are quite exotic things. Unfortunately we don't have any tardigrades for you, but maybe that's another project. Anyway, so there's a little bit of artwork there. So if we just take those out for now, I'm going to put them out of sight. I'm going to put our example slide, reference slide, out of sight. You'll also see some stickers here. These are important for attaching the microscope to your phone, so you can capture images on your phone and share them with the group. And there's also sticker cover slips for slide preparation. Again, going back to those later on. So the main thing is the instruction booklet. So this is a fold out double-sided set of instructions. You want to start the assembly instructions on this side, and we'll work our way through them together now in this video. Okay, so all of these components here, we have the lens stage, the sample stage where you can put your slides, the panning stage, and this just allows you to move the sample around, and then the focus ramp, which we'll go into in a moment. But all of these components all pop out of the other piece of card here, this big cardboard net. So this kind of cardboard is it's very specifically designed. It's really resilient, so you can be quite vigorous in the way that you pop out the different components. Don't worry too much, the card can take it. It's really stretchy and it maintains its shape, so don't be too afraid when you're popping all these elements out. Okay, so for example, your lens stage, your focus ramp, you just pull that out of the net. Don't worry too much, it keeps up everything. And I mean, don't be too rough with it, and you actually end up with a completed set of components. So I've done that section earlier, so what you'll end up with once you've taken all the components out, let's put this to one side. You'll end up with your lens stage here, and when you're looking at your instructions, which do follow the instructions as well as following this video, there's two sides to it, and you'll see the different patterns and coloration matters when you're assembling the lens couplers together. Okay, you'll end up with that. This is our thing to help us move the sample around from left to right and up and down, and then you'll end up with this the actual sample stage, which holds our slide together through these two slots in there. So let's just go through each of these components following their instructions. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is find your little bag of lens couplers and your lens stage. So you open the bag up and you'll find three metal, bendy, flexible little grids. They've got this kind of perforated edge like film. It's a film strip, so when these lenses are manufactured at a large scale, I mean, the Foldscope say they've shipped well over 1 million of these microscopes worldwide. So to make that many lenses, it's kind of manufactured on a strip of metal tape, which is like taken from mass manufacturing of PCBs and circuit boards and other kind of electronic things, which they've used for this process. So you'll see that each one of them is magnetic in a certain way. So obviously some things will repel each other, but the other way around, they'll snap together. So they will jump onto each other if you're not careful. They're quite powerful magnets, and you'll see why they are later on. Just be aware, if you've got a laptop nearby where you're following instructions, which I do encourage you to do, just be careful you don't rest your lens magnets on your laptop or near any sort of memory devices. You don't want to accidentally corrupt any data with a strong magnetic field. Most modern laptops aren't bothered by that, but just something to be aware of. If you look onto it, each one is actually the same. So you've got a silver side, a black side. One side's perforated and the other one isn't, and this is important when you orientate it correctly in the assembly of the scope. You see they're the same, except this one seems to have something else on it. It's got like a tiny kind of bump on there, and this is where the actual ball lens is embedded in there. But if you're very careful, you can take that off, and you'll see it's just the same as the other couplers, magnetic couplers. Except you'll see, the silver side, non-silver side. There's the lens just at the very point there that you can see, and that's what does all the magic happens. Much like the original ball lenses of the very first microscopes in the 18th century, 17th century. We'll talk about that another time. Okay, so there's your components. So the first step is to place one of the couplers silver side up with the alignment holes, perforated bit here, to the right. So if you look on, make sure your lens stage is this way up with the blue and the yellow at the bottom and the red stripes there. You can see some white perforated images on there, and basically you want to slot that in and just tuck each corner underneath like that, like so. Yep. And then pop. The other ones are a little bit more tricky. You can bend the coupler and the card to fit. So I find you bend them both down, squeeze them in, so you end up with this, with each corner's tucked inside. The red hazard lines are kind of covered up, and it's kind of secured nicely there with the silver, this silver part up. And again, that's just to make sure the right combination of couplers magnetically snap together and hold the slide in place. Okay, so that's one step done. The next thing you want to flip over. Now you've got the yellow and the red at the bottom. You want to take another coupler. This time the alignment perforated holes on the left. Okay, and you can see again those holes, there's some markations that indicate you put those holes there. And once again, you want to slide that in like you did before. Tuck them into those holes, see, and again do a little bit of bending to tuck those corners in. There we go. Oops. There we go. Just wiggle it around a little, and what you'll end up with. Oh yeah, and important to note that you want the silver side down. So what you end up with is something like that. So both couplers have the black side up, silver side down. If we turn over, you now see they both have the silver sides up. Okay, the next step is to fold and lock the bottom flap here. Okay, and so you probably want to do a fold there first, and you'll see that each of these tabs go into those three slots there. So pop those in there. Again, you have to sort of angle them in, fold it a little bit. It's not called origami microscope for nothing. There's a lot of folding. Let's get that there. Okay, this can be tricky. There you go. So that's folded up and locked in place there. So you'll eventually, so now the coupler will have its silver side showing up because you bent it over, and the silver side down at the top there. Okay, the next step is inserting the lens into the actual lens stage. So here's our lens that we separated off earlier. Bear with me while I just triple check the instructions because this is the point you want to get this correct, basically. What you need to do is find one of the ring stickers. So go back to your bag, and in your bag you'll find another bag inside the mesh Foldscope bag. Inside the bag that says caution glass slide, you want to open that up. You want to find these ring stickers. And these are what we use to attach the lens, but also to attach the phone later on. So this is what you need for that. So what you need to do is attach a ring sticker up here. You'll see there's a tiny little tab here. Actually, this is where your tweezers will come in handy in the kit. So take your sticker and you want to stick that as centrally as you can over there, like that. I'm actually going to take it off, put it on again. The stickiness just helps to kind of secure it in place. Okay, and you'll see there's a tiny little tab there that are tweezers. You'd be able to just take the tab with the sticker fully stuck on, grab that tab either with your nail or with the tweezers, peel that off. Okay, so now that's quite sticky. You want to take your lens, flip it over because you want the bump side down. So with your all yellow side up, your sticker on this part of the lens holder, and you want to place this bump, that's the sort of nipple side, down. That should go on there. Now the magnet should secure it, and then the sticker make sure the magnetism, make sure it goes in the right place, and the sticker just secures it and gives it an extra bit of stickiness that the other magnets don't pull it off. Now to keep that clean, you use your little Q-tip. Just give that lens a gentle little wipe, and you can always come back to that if you keep that somewhere safe and clean. Maybe back in the little plastic bag might be an idea. There we go. Okay, so that stage is done. The next step is your focus ramp, which I assembled earlier. That comes out of the net. It is actually possible to break off parts of this, so do be careful. I do remember doing that before. And this is quite a sort of strange, slightly confusing thing, but basically find all those perforated lines and you want to fold into them, just to sort of, this is quite a sort of unusual sort of item, but basically you'll see once you've folded all these perforations, there we go. I mean, you can take a little bit more care than I am, because I don't want this video to go on for absolutely ever, but make all those perforations work. That's something I could have done earlier. And then you want to sort of the concertina them, and it'll make sense shortly why. Okay, that's that one. Then let's get the other perforation. There. I mean, I don't have great hand dexterity, so for you big guys and you folks might be a lot more dexterous than me. Okay, so I'm folding in all those perforations now. They're folding in, and you'll sort of concertina them in until you end up with this shape. And you'll see here you've got one end is flat and then the other end has built up that extra bit of space, and basically what that does is it acts as a wedge. You can see there's a sort of they've kind of standardized and measured the effect of that. So as you push this focus ramp through this kind of aperture, you're changing the distance between the slide and the lens, and that's basically how the focus works. So more on that use a bit later on. So you need to put this into our lens stage. So we're now on point 6 in the instructions if you're following along. So let's pop that in there. Goes. Turn this around. Oh, now is the answer. That goes in there and then it threads back through there, so you'll end up with that little Z, i.e. the up and down distance, Z arrows pointing to those numbers there. Okay. Next step is take our sample stage, so we'll move our things out of view for now. Put this to one side. Here's our sample stage. Just checking we're running still. Yeah, okay. So tuck these sections in. That's a bit tricky. So you end up, sometimes it's good to flatten it down and use your nail to make sure the fold's quite secure. Do your fold along the perforation first, actually, it's quite a good tip. Like so. And that goes, tucks into that little slot there. Sometimes you need your finger to just encourage it to go in. Then on the other side, fold it back over. Good idea to just use your nail to make that fold quite permanent. And there's now a little way of tucking in a sample slide in that little gap, and then the fold of these flaps just give it that sort of tension, enough tension to hold the sample still. That's the idea. Now you need to put this sample stage into the panning guide, as it's actually called. So flip it over to the yellow side. You want to slot it in, feed it through those slots there, so you get that effect. You can see that in the instructions as well. That slides through there. Guide it through those newly folded yellow tabs. That takes a bit of guidance. should end up with that. It'll make sense shortly. We're now going to connect the two things together. So if you've done it correctly, when you flip this over, you'll see the X arrows point to some numbers there. Let's leave it at 0 for now. And the Y's aren't showing anything yet, but you'll see. Once it's assembled, it'll make sense. What you need to do is get your lens stage. Yeah, so what we need to do is place that like so. What you want to do is pull these bits forward so you can see the Y becomes visible over the numbers there. And another's tab there, tuck that in there. Same on the other side, so snap that forward, snap that forward. You'll see now that you can, holding it with two hands, your thumb on these two holes here, you see the registration point, that sort of helps you grip it, and you can see I can move it up and down the y-axis and left and right on the x-axis. So if you are looking for a specific thing, you can say, oh, you know, 5y minus 5x. So if you want to find a particular thing. But yeah, you can see the idea is that the sample is kept still there, close to the lens, depending on your focus ramp. And you'll be able to move around while keeping that bit still. It will sort of make sense shortly. The next stage is to fold up the bottom of the lens stage. So again, the blue at the top and yellow at the bottom, this side up. You want to fold that down, that perforation down, the next perforation down, fold that down, fold this down. So when I say down, I mean down that way, because this is going to fold down like so. But the last one, you want to fold that up. Now turn ourselves to that last fold again, up, everything else is folded down. Okay. Okay, so it should sit like this now. So when you flip it over, it sort of sits a little bit like that. Now let's try and put our slide in. Go back to your little caution glass slide bag. Make sure your hands are clean, by the way. I've cleaned my hands with alcohol before. Beware of the blank slide, which we're going to use for making our own samples later. And you just want to take this pre-prepared slide here. And this is a section of skin, I think. So we take that and we place that into our sample. So have a look at the instructions about the kind of slide use. So we provide this kind of reference slide just to get you started quite quickly. There are also in the net these other kind of paper slides where you can stack a couple of these together and use cover stickers to trap samples in those gaps and use paper slides, but we're not really going to do that. We're going to use the glass slides. So to do that, you need to take your slide and you want to get it in here. So because you've just made it, you'll find it's a little bit tricky getting the slide in position. So you need to take a bit of care. So the reference slide, these are nicely rounded edges, so you're not really going to cut yourself on this one. But on our blank slides, some of them aren't the best, aren't ground in the best way, so the edges are quite sharp. So just start off with this one. And you want this label side up. You can see where their permanent cover slip is over the top of the sample there. And you want that closest to the lens. So again, slide your sample in that little gap there, just nudge it through. And it's good to start with this reference slide, because when you've made your own little slides, you want to be careful that the silicon slab that you build on the slide doesn't get pulled off. So you want to kind of get used to placing a slide in this way. So let's push that in there. So now you'll see the slide is sort of close to the lens. Okay, so flip it back over. Make sure all the tabs are there. They can slip off actually. Yeah, there are other tabs there. I forgot to bring them up too. That keeps it in position. Yeah, so make sure you've tucked those in as well, and that keeps everything together. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so now position your slide nicely in the middle. So remember, the sticker side closest to the lens. So we can just peek through and see the sticker of the lens, the slide through there. And now if you take that, you let this bit at the back, you'll see the reason we fold it up is that snaps to the lens. You've got space for light to come in, but it also keeps the sample in a good position. So let's just get that position there. You can see if you hold it up to the light, you'll be able to just see the sort of pink of the sample through the lens hole there, and let that magnetically clamp on there. You can put an ID sticker to give you a Foldscope specific ID. The sticker's in there, but I'll just leave that for now. So now you should be able to hold this up to the light, and you'll be able to see, when I put my phone in, you'll be able to see the light of the phone. In fact, if I put my torch on, you can see the light through the lens there. So, oops, turn off. Okay. So we've got our slide. Now if you hold that up to the light, up to your eye, with your thumbs there, you should be able to see the sample. If you can't, you need to play with the focus ramp, and I always like start off quite low, so right to the end, and hold out to the light, up to your eye, see if you can see the sample. Sometimes it's best to check it's in position first, and then try it from there. So I think I'll pause this video. Yeah, so you can't really see it here, but I've just successfully found the sample. I don't think it'll show on this camera, but what I will do is show you how to, very quickly, how to use the your phone with the Foldscope. Okay, so people may have much better phones than mine, but the basic idea is that we find our stickers again that we use to stick the lens. Take them off. Tweezers does help. What you want to do is take the sticker and place it as centrally as you can around over the lens of your phone. So if you have a phone that's quite fancy and it's got more than one lens, oh, I've actually not brought the sticker with me there, which has never happened before. Okay. Ah, there we go. Okay. Yeah, so obviously you need to take care when removing that sticker. Make sure that when you peel off this bit, you bring the sticky thing with you. Okay, so we've lost the sticky thing, but what you need to do is just place it as centrally as you can over the lens. And if you've got a phone with multiple lenses, find the main one that would do your main lens, or experiment with different lenses and stick that down there. Just sort of, you can use the tweezers to adhere it quite strongly to the lens. Oh yeah, so this doesn't damage the lens in any way. Obviously your tweezers might, so take care doing that. Maybe fingers are better. But you can peel this off again and quite easily just wipe away any residue of the sticker, either with a bit of spit or alcohol or water. It'll easily. I've done this numerous times. These cracks are nothing to do with the Foldscope, it's to do with me dropping my phone. Okay, so you've got that sticker on there. And what you want to do is take your remaining lens coupler. You've used two, there's one spare, and this is what this is for. What you want to do is you want silver side up, silver side down on the phone. So what you do is, so the way to check it is have your Foldscope there and see where the magnetism is. So, right, so the black is magnetized to the silver of the lens there. Okay, so what you want to do is you want the black up on your phone. And again, try and place that as centrally as you can over the lens and let that stick. So now that's nicely stuck, and the stickiness does wear off. You do have to replace the sticker after a while, but it works for a while. So we'll just open up my phone and you'll see immediately, because the lens coupler's stuck onto around the lens, it's not in focus because the lens is picking up the fact there's a frame around it. But what you'll do is when you bring it close to the lens here, so you get into focus, and then the magnetics snap it in place, and there you go. That's our sample. Oops, I've lost it. There it is. And that's basically how you capture some images. So I hope this helps in some way. Obviously, in our sessions together, we'll be able to look into any questions you might have. You want to try different techniques of focus. You see there, as I pushed it in, it's gone out of focus. So I'll pull your ramp out slightly. and there we go, you're in focus. You can zoom in as well with your phone depending on how fancy it is. Mine's not very fancy, and in fact you could see there that I have put a finger mark over my slide, and that's why it's slightly out of focus on the middle. But there you go, that's a good, I think that's a good start. So when it comes off, slide it off, make sure it sticks again. Maybe adjust your slide to a different position, and again let that jump on. There's your image. So thanks for watching this video. I hope it helps you get started with the Foldscope. I find using your phone is like the most rewarding thing really, because you can see it with the naked eye by holding it up to the light, but the phone means you can share it, it's a lot more social, you can zoom in. Yeah, it becomes like a really nice little platform. If you've ever tried to take a photograph from an actual standard microscope with a phone, it's quite difficult. It's actually easier to do it this way. So enjoy playing with your different samples and watch the next video for preparing your slides. Okay, thanks a lot, and I'll see you soon.